Hi guys, in this third and final video of the series, we're going to see how to derive the LDA model using the Markov chain Monte Carlo approach, specifically the collapsed Gibbs method. We finished the first video showing that we can't derive the posterior analytically because of it being intractable, mostly due to the sum over the z's. We said there are two approaches we can take, either use variational inference or use MCMC. In the second video, we saw how to proceed using VI, and in this video, we're going to explore the MCMC approach. The posterior consists of the joint distribution divided by the evidence. The joint is the numerator. The evidence is the denominator. Because the evidence does not depend on the parameters, it is simply a normalizing constant for a fixed theta. The joint varies across parameter values, while the evidence remains constant. Thus, the joint can be viewed as the unnormalized posterior, which we denote here by p tilde. In most problems, we can compute the joint but not the evidence. The core idea of MCMC is therefore to sample from the posterior using only the joint. Although we cannot evaluate the exact posterior probability of a point without the normalizing constant, we can compare relative probabilities between points. MCMC algorithms exploit this fact. We begin at an arbitrary point in parameter space and propose a new point from a proposal distribution. The proposal is accepted with a probability that depends only on the ratio of the joint densities. If the new point has higher joint density, we accept it. If it has a lower density, we accept it with a probability equal to the ratio between the two. This mechanism allows the chain to move through low probability regions and prevent it from getting trapped in local modes. Here's a pictorial view of it in 2D parameter space. Suppose we start at some random point. We propose a new point, and since it's higher, we move there. We continue to move to higher regions of probability, but we don't get stuck at a single peak. Sometimes a lower probability point is proposed, and we still have the probability to accept that point. From there, we might start climbing in another trajectory and explore a new peak. This allows us to explore the entire parameter space. Again, I have a whole 5 parts mini-series on this on my channel, and you should definitely check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. That was the general case, but what actually is being implemented for the LDA problem is Gibbs sampling, which can be considered a special case of MCMC where we always accept the new point. Often the posterior is hard to compute, but the complete conditionals are rather easy. What I mean by complete conditionals is that if we have some vector of parameters theta, then the complete conditional is the distribution of a single parameter theta I given all other parameters excluding the ith parameter. We can essentially ignore all variables that aren't theta I in the expression and consider them as known. Usually this is easier to compute because we can identify the form of the distribution and the parameters. And luckily this is the case for LDA. Sometimes, even if we can't identify the form, it's still easier to compute using numerical methods. The idea in Gibbs sampling is to update each coordinate one at a time. You start at some random point, and then you sample the first coordinate, assuming all the others are known. Then you move to sample the second coordinate, assuming the first coordinate has shifted. And you continue like this. You can consider each point as a sample point, or you can only add the final point after you've swept across all coordinates. It doesn't really matter. Specifically, what is done in LDA is called collapsed Gibbs, because we're going to integrate out some variables that are getting in our way. The strategy is to integrate out theta and beta and sample only the topic assignments z. Although theta and beta are our parameters of interest, we will estimate them from the empirical distribution of the sampled z's. We begin with a random initialization of all topic assignments. Then, for each word, we sample its topic conditional on the observed word and all other topic assignments. Sweeping through all words yield one full sample of z for the corpus. From this sample, we recover parameter estimates. Document topic proportions, theta, are obtained by counting topics within each document and normalizing. Topic word distributions, beta, are obtained by aggregating word counts per topic across the corpus and normalizing. We repeat this procedure for many iterations and average the resulting estimates. The first samples are typically discarded as burn-in, since the chain has not yet converged to the stationary distribution. Before diving into the formal derivation, let's build some intuition. Suppose all other topic assignments z are fixed. How should we estimate the probability of the current word's topic? Pause for a moment and think it through. If all other z's are known, we can use them to estimate two quantities. First, the topic proportions, theta, for the current document. Second, the word probabilities, beta, for the current word under each topic. The conditional probability that the current word is assigned to topic K is then proportional to the product of these two terms. The probability that the document uses topic K multiplied by the probability that topic K generates this word. This is the core intuition behind the collapsed Gibbs update. Note that for ease of notation, I'm not going to write K prime, even though the K in the numerator is a single chosen K, while the K in the first denominator is an indicator for the sum over all Ks. I hope it's not too confusing. Okay, let's start deriving this solution. We start by integrating out theta and beta. And turns out this is not that difficult. We can easily rearrange the product so that the integrals are separated. Now, since the thetas are independent of each other, and the betas as well, we can exchange between the integral and the product. Notice that in the second part, this requires us to rearrange the product such that all words related to the K topic bundle together. We'll focus on the first integral. Luckily for us, since the first term is Dirichlet and the second product is categorical, we can use the base conjugacy property and find that their product will be an unnormalized Dirichlet distribution. So the integral will be equal to the normalizing factor of that distribution. Let's see this. We expand the probability expressions. Then we rearrange the products in the second part. We'll denote by C of dk the sum of the z's over n. That is the number of times topic K appeared in document D. So we can write the product like this. Now we can unite the product over K and get this. We can take the normalizing constant of the Dirichlet prior out of the integral and get this. Since this is an unnormalized Dirichlet posterior distribution of p theta given z, we know that the integral will be equal to 1 over the normalizing constant of this posterior, that is, to this expression. We can do a similar thing for the second part. We expand the probability expressions. Note that we don't need the z of d and k in the exponent here, since we already grouped the words such that in this integral will only appear words of topic K. So we know z of d and k is equal to 1 for this specific group. Again, we rearrange the products, and denote by c of kv the sum of the w's over the entire corpus. That is, the number of times word v was in category K in the entire corpus. We get this expression. We unite the product over v, take the normalizing constant of the Dirichlet prior out of the integral. The remaining integral is the unnormalized Dirichlet posterior of p beta given z and w, so it will be equal to 1 over the normalizing constant of this distribution. And we get this final expression. So finally, after integrating out theta and beta, we get this. Notice the first term corresponds to p of z, and the second term to p of w given z, and ignoring the alpha and eta hyperparameters. Now that we simplify the expression, we're going to find the complete conditionals. Since z is a categorical distribution, it will be of the following form. Using conditional probability, we get that each complete conditional is of this form. But note that we don't really need to calculate the denominator. Instead, what we can do is look at the numerator, but ignore everything that doesn't depend on the specific z. Let's start throwing away irrelevant terms. The prior's normalizing constants can be ignored as they don't depend on the z's. Since we are caring for a specific z that is related to a specific document and a specific word, we can throw away the product over d and the product over v, and from now on use d prime and v prime, where v prime is the word in position d prime and prime. Remember that z is categorical, so it's of the following form. This means that for a specific k, we only care about a single term in the product, and we can ignore the rest. Again, for ease of notation, I'm not going to write k prime, but remember that in the numerator, the k is the chosen topic, while in the denominator, it's an indicator for the sum. So we have that the probability of a specific z is proportional to this expression. Technically, we could have stopped here, but the gamma functions are quite computationally expensive, and we don't really need them. The z we care about is hiding in the count variables, the c's. So let's denote by c prime the counts without that specific z. Here it is for the document topic combinations, and here for the topic word combinations. For CKV prime, since we are looking at the specific word that is related to the specific word topic Z, we know its W will be equal to 1 and we can remove it. That is, V prime is the word that is associated with Z, D prime, and prime, so while we're not sure about the other W's in the corpus, we do know that this specific one is equal to 1. We can also denote by CFK the sum of CKV over all V's, and by CK prime the sum without the current Z. We can now use the fundamental property of the gamma function, which is a generalization of the factorial function. In our case, since we don't know if Z is going to be 0 or 1, we can write it like this, which will preserve the equality. If Z is equal to 0, x to the power of Z will be 1. We can thus deconstruct each part of the expression we got to a part that doesn't depend on the current Z and a part that does depend on the current Z. I won't go over the entire derivation, but you can pause the video and look at it yourself. We got from this expression to this expression, and we can now throw out terms that don't depend on the Z's. The term in magenta doesn't really depend on the current Z. In the previous slide, we saw in the yellow part that summing the Z's over K gives 1, but I'll keep it anyway for the intuition. The final update rule is proportional to this expression. Notice the first part aligns nicely with the probability of document D' having topic K, where the alpha weights serve as a sort of prior on that specific K topic, times the probability that word V' has topic K. Again, the etas serve as a prior on that specific word. The final probability is of course normalized by dividing by the sum over K. We've simplified the numerator and found the complete conditional distribution. We can now do Gibbs sampling just like I explained in the outline earlier. This was training, but what about inference time? Well, we could do something similar to what was done in VI, that is, treat the beta estimates as fixed and sample Z's for the new documents only, and use them to calculate the thetas for the new documents. In practice, for example in the LDA Python package, what's implemented is often called iterated pseudo-counts. There is no explicit sampling. Instead of drawing discrete topic assignments, we perform soft updates and treat the Z's as probabilities. We initialize the topic probabilities, then iterate. In each round, we update each word's topic probability using the document's topic mass from the previous iteration and excluding the current position, multiplied by the corresponding word topic probability beta. After several iterations, we sum the topic probabilities within each document and normalize to obtain theta. A few implementation details. First, because we update each ZDN individually, we expand the corpus into full word tokens rather than using a compact count matrix. Word order is irrelevant. Second, during sampling, we remove the current assignment from the counts, sample a new topic, and then add it back. Third, the formulas shown earlier use raw counts. In the Bayesian version, we simply add the Dirichlet priors. Finally, the code I'll present is a simple educational version. The LDA package is implemented in C and is much faster. Let's implement this. In case you forgot from the previous videos, we loaded some dependencies and defined a function to print the top words per topic. Our data comprises of around 18,000 newsgroup posts on 20 topics. We've cleaned the data a bit and split it into train and test. This is an example of cleaned document text. We can see it talks about bikes. Earlier, we used the count vectorizers to create a compact document term matrix. For collapsed Gibbs, however, we need to reverse that representation. Instead of aggregated counts, we work with the full list of word tokens per document. Each document keeps its original length, but we ignore word order since LDA assumes exchangeability. We begin by initializing the count matrices and assigning each word a random topic. We also create accumulators for theta and beta, which will normalize only at the end. The hyperparameters alpha and eta are set to fixed values. Because this implementation is slow, I won't run it live. I did test it for 20 iterations and discarded the first 10 as burn-in. At each step, we loop over every word in the corpus. For each word, we remove its current topic from the counts, compute the complete conditional, sample a new topic, and update the counts. After burn-in, we compute the posterior means of theta and beta and accumulate them. In the end, we average these accumulated values to obtain the final estimates. Here are the top words after this very short run. We can see, even though it's not very good yet, topic 6 is already very distinct, and we could label it as Christianity. If we examine a document that seems to be about Christianity, we see that the most likely topic assignment is indeed topic 6. To use the efficient implementation, install the LDA package, import it, create a model with the desired number of topics, iterations, and random seed, and call fit. After fitting, you can inspect the top words per topic, and also infer topic distributions for new test documents. I hope now you have a strong understanding of how collapsed Gibbs MCMC algorithm works for LDA, and in general, a very good intuition of what LDA is and how it works. That's all for now. See you in the next video.